Thanks, Sean. A couple questions for you. First, does President Trump have audio recordings of his conversations and meetings with the former FBI Director James Comey?
The President made clear in the Rose Garden last week that he would have an announcement shortly.
Do you have any sort of timeline on when that announcement will be?
When the President's ready to make it.
And a quick follow-up on the Attorney General. From the perspective of President Trump, what role did Attorney General Jeff Sessions play in the firing of James Comey?
I'm not going to discuss private conversations between the President and the Attorney General.
Sean, to that end, when Jeff Sessions testifies tomorrow, do you believe that he should invoke executive privilege on conversations between himself and the President as it relates to Jim Comey?
I think it depends on the scope of the questions, and it would be to get into a hypothetical at this point would be premature.
And in any way, did Jeff Sessions, folks at the DOJ, ask for the White House's permission, in essence, for him to testify publicly tomorrow?
I don't know the answer to that question. I know Congress, generally speaking, sets the whether a hearing is open or closed based on the sensitivity of the subject.
Is the President then okay with him testifying in this open setting tomorrow?
I think he's going to testify. We're aware of it, and go from there. John.
Just to follow on that, the President seemed to indicate that he thought that it was a mistake for Jeff Sessions to recuse himself from the Russia investigation. He said that his preference would have been to the contrary on camera. What does the President think about the fact that Sessions will be testifying tomorrow and, according to the Department of Justice, wanted to testify in an open session rather than a closed classified session?
I think the President's been clear last week in the Rose Garden that he believes that the sooner we can get this addressed and dealt with, that there's been no collusion. He wants this to get investigated as soon as possible and be done with it so he can continue with the business of the American people.
If I could ask you about the other headline of the day, the state of Maryland, the District of Columbia filing a lawsuit against the President,
right.
Seeking rulings on 2 points in the emoluments clause of the Constitution. What does the President, the RNC thinks that this is bogus lawsuit. What does the President, what's the White House's perspective on that?
The President's interests, as previously discussed, do not violate the emoluments clause for reasons that length that the Department of Justice filing enumerate in their Friday night filing with respect to the Crew lawsuit, which was the first one. This lawsuit today is just another iteration of the case that was filed by that group Crew, filed actually by the same lawyers. So it's not hard to conclude that partisan politics may be one of the motivations behind the suit. The suit was filed by 2 Democratic attorney generals. The lawyers driving the suit are an advocacy group with partisan ties. It actually started with a press conference as opposed to filing it, which is interesting. And the suit challenges the sort of business transaction that everyone from Penny Pritzker, who served in the last administration, and others have engaged in while office. So I think we'll continue to move to dismiss this case in the normal course of business.
Thanks, Sean. I wanted to just 2 questions, but first, why leave open this question of whether there are tapes? Don't the American people, do they deserve to know whether Comey was lying to the Senate? I mean, why leave this question open?
I think the President made it clear what his intention is on Friday.
But it's an open question.
I understand that, and he said he would answer that question in due time.
Follow up on the tapes issue. If the President does have evidence that the FBI director lied under oath, what is he waiting for?
I think the President made it very clear on Friday that he would get back as soon as possible on this and his position on that conversation.
So what is he waiting for? What's the delay?
He's waiting. He's not waiting for anything. When he's ready to further discuss it, he will. But I think he laid out his position very clearly, very concisely on Friday.
Thank you, Sean. You said that the President wants to see this Russia investigation and all these investigations wrapped up as soon as possible. He said on Friday that he would be willing to testify under oath. Can you say when he would be willing to do that? Would he be willing to do that before Congress goes into recess to get this done as soon as possible?
I think he was actually specifically asked whether or not he would talk to Director Mueller, and he made it very clear what his position was.
So he would.
John.
So sorry. I just wanted to be very clear about this. So he's not saying that he would go before Congress.
I don't know. I've not had a further discussion with that. I know exactly what he said on Friday in the Rose Garden is exactly what he believes.
Confidence in Director Mueller.